Evening, everyone. Thank you, Will. Let me start by congratulating Will and Birgitte on 5 very successful years. Will gave me a very specific essay question, which is, what is the link between the Bank of England and innovation? So the challenge really was, how do I structure that for 4 minutes? I did have a selection of stories about noodles and fish, but Vincent's taken those. So what has the Bank of England ever done for innovation is the question. We pretty much invented central banking. And that's not exactly graphene, or perhaps not even Velcro, but it's something. And less well known is that after the Second World War, the bank created 3i, which has been a key catalyst for innovation across the UK over much of the period since. And then, of course, during the crisis, there was a whole bunch of stuff the Bank of England did that was pretty innovative in its lending, in its quantitative easing, in its regulation, even in its new polymer banknotes. And I reckon the bank has probably made more changes, been more innovative over the last 6 or 7 years than it probably had been in its previous 315. All right, looking forward, what can the bank do now to foster innovation, to tackle that productivity puzzle that we hear so much about right now, not just in the UK, but across many Western economies? So let me mention 1 or 2 things that we're involved with, some of them, as Will mentioned, with a direct link to the BIC. First, a couple of weeks ago, the bank published a discussion paper on so-called productive finance, which is one element of the government's productivity plan. I'm not suggesting publishing a discussion paper by itself does very much for innovation or productivity, but the idea that the financial system might not be serving the wider economy as well as it might, I think, is a pretty important one. For example, here's a puzzle. On some estimates by academics, the productivity of the banking system is little different than in the 50s. And that's the 1850s rather than the 1950s. Really. Here's a second puzzle. We have a set of life insurance and pension funds in this country who have about a £3 trillion worth of assets. Yet fully half of those aren't invested in the economy. They're invested in very expensive government bonds of various types, which have the lowest yields since at least Babylonian times. Probably ever. Now, far be it from me to offer anyone in this room independent financial advice, but it could be those monies might be better deployed elsewhere. Is that productive finance? I'd say probably not. Second, public companies were almost certainly one of the greatest institutional inventions of the 19th and early 20th century. But is that still true in the 21st century? Is their focus these days, their increasing focus, on shareholder value maximization, on executive compensation? Is that the right ingredient for doing the good things in life, like R&D and creating jobs and creating skills and serving customers and clients? Is Bob Dudley worth $20 million? It's a rhetorical question. But the Big Innovation Centre project that Will mentioned at the beginning is taking on those deep questions about the modern company, about the appropriate purpose of the modern company. And we will be, over the course of the next month or two, publishing our first findings on that front. The Bank of England's delighted to be part of that project as a partner, and also to be involved in Birgitte's project on intangible gold as well. Finally, money. Now, you don't necessarily think of money and innovation in the same sentence, but I think that could be about to change. Things like the blockchain, the distributed ledger, could change pretty fundamentally what we mean by money, what indeed we mean by central banking. That doesn't mean, for the avoidance of doubt, that I want to scrap cash. There is an online petition called Stop Andy Haldane Banning Cash. Andy Haldane has signed the petition to stop Andy Haldane banning cash. But could new money and new technologies transform the way we do money and payments to improve the lot of bank customers? And should the Bank of England play a role in nudging, nurturing that sort of innovation? Absolutely, we should. This far, central banking and innovation have not made the most natural of bedfellows. In our case, over the last 321 years and 10 months. But tonight, that will change. Thank you very much.